All right, this is going to be a recap here of my daily trades for this Tuesday. It is going to be May 16th, 2023. So we'll start off with a couple trades here. So a couple trades I made this morning during the first hour was PHIO. PHIO had a nice little entry there. I can't remember what pattern it was. It may have been I think it was an HF1, but it was on a much longer time frame. So let me explain. So basically the way this works is I have several different patterns that I look at, and a lot of them come on different time frames, which means that if it's a longer time frame, it means it's going to project these levels at a much higher than if I'm projecting on a smaller time frame. So this particular buy came in at a much longer time frame, which means typically I may have to hold the trade longer than if I'm looking at a much tighter target, okay, or on a smaller time frame. So, but once I entered it, I was not expecting it to have this kind of spike up and hit these three levels. And before I could blink an eye and even get out, it was down, and this is a 1 minute chart. It came down so fast that I couldn't have even gotten out. Even if I put an order in here when it hit it to sell it, I probably still would have been filled down here someplace. But nonetheless, so what I was waiting for is waiting for a bounce. Now my stop, see, I had my stop down in here. Yeah, see, my stop was way down here. You remember, longer time frame, bigger stop, right? Because we need more room for it to move. So it didn't even get close to that, but I wasn't willing to hold on to it because I really didn't like the action. It couldn't go above and hold its gain above VWAP. Now this is VWAP, so I like to watch VWAP to see what the traders are thinking. A lot of times if we can't hold above VWAP, it's probably not going to hold up. And so let me go back a little bit further here. So that's pretty much what it is. When it went above VWAP, you had this collapse below VWAP, and it wasn't really bouncing much. So I went ahead and took my loss on that. Then I came back, and that was a pretty good size loss on that because I was putting on some size on that as it was starting to just bounce around here. Then I came back later on, and this was after the first hour. This came in around 10:01, 10:02, something like that. I'm sorry, no, that was my exit. That was around 10:17. I went ahead and I bought it again, and as soon as it hit this tighter level, this was a much shorter time frame, I went ahead and I took a profit, which, you know, I regained some of my losses. I had like a $2,300 loss on this trade, but I was able to get about another $500 back on it, and ended up losing 18. And I decided I wasn't going to trade it anymore. It wasn't acting right. I don't think it really did. See, it really didn't do much. Stayed below VWAP pretty much all day, and so I think that was a wise move getting out. I also traded APLD. I'm just showing you the ones I called this morning during the first hour. So APLD, let's look at that as well. That was also a loss. Let's see here. Switch over to APLD. Alright, so here is APLD. So now APLD was actually the very first stock that I purchased, and I entered at 9 o'clock Eastern time, and I was really expecting after the opening to have a nice little burst to the upside. And we had a little burst, but it certainly couldn't hold itself, and then it just fell. So this is not a good sign. I went ahead and I got out of my long position, and I just went ahead and took a loss on that. It wasn't a big loss because I wasn't heavily committed in it. But I just didn't, after it couldn't sustain itself and try to get up to these levels, which it never hit, I decided just to go ahead and get out. I think eventually it did finally come back. Yes, it finally did come back and hit those levels, but that really doesn't matter. I wasn't going to hold it that long until it hit those levels, because when it couldn't hit it right after the opening, to me that did indicate that we had a lot of interest in it, and it just really didn't have the strength to really push it any higher. I figured it was just going to go flat. So I think it did, yeah, it did come up and hit those levels, and that kind of went flat. This kind of went sideways. So anyway, those were the two trades. Now JDST I bought in later in the day. That came in much later in the day. I think it came around 1 o'clock Eastern time, and I pretty much held that almost to the close. JDST, as you know, if you've been following me for a while, is one of my favorites. So I held that, and I started adding on that, and that cushioned my loss, but still ended up losing 225 overall for all the stocks. Made a little bit on CVNA. I'm watching CVNA. CVNA's been a nice little stock, and I'll be watching it again tomorrow, as I will be watching JDST. I'll keep my eye on PHIO. I think PHIO does have some potential, but I like to see it start to move higher here and get a little bit more volume in it. So we'll watch PHIL and APLD in the morning, and if we have the volume and I get some setups, I'll probably jump into one or both of those tomorrow. Let's take a look at our indices, because that's really what kind of saved the day, the indices. Alright, so here is the E-mini S&P 500, one of my favorites. In fact, I've traded this longer than any other market. Been trading this since, gosh, the early 80s, when it was a really big contract. So anyway, had a really nice HF3 short coming in, took the trade at 932. That was shortly after the opening. Didn't have to do a lot of sweating on this. Everything was looking good. I think I even added, let's see, yeah, I did add on this short. I recall saying I was adding. I did add on the short on the ES on this bounce. And then after I added on the bounce, it had a nice little collapse on the downside, hit my profit target, and I was out. And that's really what saved my day overall. Had it not been for that, I would have been red for the day. A little bit on the crude oil. You saw me buy the crude oil, bought the crude oil, took a loss on my initial buy. Turned around and sold it, and I actually ended up getting out late in the day, so picked a little bit up on the crude. Not much going on the US yen. Man, you've got to do size on the yen to even make any money, so that's the yen's really, really tough unless you catch it just right and you can hold it throughout the day. But the US yens, it is a good market, but you're not get the same bang for the buck as you do with the indices. So if I was trading just one, obviously the indices are going to be my favorites. Mini Russell, mini S&P 500, the mini Nasdaq. Those are going to be my favorites. I mean, you could just trade those and do extremely well. You don't really have to trade anything else, because it gives you that nice luxury of buying and selling, makes it very easy to do. You just wait for the setups and take the trade. So anyway, good old E-mini saved the day today. So happy with that. So we'll be back again tomorrow. Don't forget to subscribe and also hit that like button. And if you'd like to be notified on any of my new videos, please also make sure that you hit the notification bell. And that's going to be it. We'll be back again tomorrow, first thing in the morning. Hope to see everybody there. Take care.